If you live in Auckland and work for a tech company or a startup, we'd love to meet you on September 1st for a very special tech-focused power session where you'll join 15 other women in your industry to build leadership capabilities, overcome challenges, and make tangible progress towards your career goals. Find out more at hello@powrsuit.com. Welcome to Power Up, the podcast that uncovers the unique challenges women leaders face today. Join your hosts Nat and Kristen as we dive into the tough topics and provide actionable insights you can apply right now. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes.
Hello everyone. Thanks for listening. We, yesterday, ticked off a massive goal, which was selling out our second 2 power sessions. So we've sold out 4, which kind of got us thinking about goals and how we set them and how we achieve them. So we thought this was the perfect time to talk about them a little bit more.
Yeah, it's an art and a science, as it turns out.
Is it, Kristen?
Well, behavior is very, science-based in why we do things. And so sometimes there's this sense of totally in control, and just because we want to do something, we can. But in fact, there's like massive science behind this.
Absolutely. I so agree. It's the same with everything, right? We just got off a phone call where we were talking about a lot of the things we've uncovered in power sessions and through Powrsuit is we have these ideas of the things that are blocking us from the things we want to achieve. And we like to think of those things now as symptoms. They're often really tangible things like I don't have enough time or I don't have enough money or all of those sorts of things. Whereas actually a lot of the time what's stopping us from getting where we want to go or achieving what we want to achieve is intangible. It's really underlying deep-rooted beliefs about ourselves or about the world, and unless we get to them, which is probably, is that the art bit or the science bit, we're not able to get where we want to go.
Well, I think the art bit is really looking deeply into ourselves as to why we want to set a goal in the first place. Like, what does success look like to us, not to anyone else, to us? And so that feels like it's the art. But then there's actually a science in implementing it.
Bang on. And if anyone's listening going, I am not a goal setter, I don't do goals, you're probably, I was going to say preaching to the converted. We're preaching to the converted. I don't think either of us consider, like, we're not people. I mean, I'll speak for myself and then you can speak for yourself. I am not someone who sits down, apart from one year where I did a New Year's resolution to get on more yachts in the year. A friend of mine did one, less hospitals, more helicopters. We had really lofty goals for the year. But other than those sorts of goals, I'm not someone who sits down and really documents what I want to achieve. Do you?
No, I don't sit down and document what I achieve. There are a couple things that I want, which definitely are goals. However, underlying what I've realized, and I had to ask a friend about this, underlying everything I do is actually just a subconscious goal or a conscious goal. I don't know. Like, it's a thing I want to make happen. Yes. And therefore I go into the science of how to make it happen, but I haven't gone explicitly sitting down and writing down, I want this thing to happen.
I love it because I think that's, well, it's what we find a lot of the time. Labels make things feel unachievable or specific, but actually I think if we expand this conversation to being very much the things you want to get done in life, the things you want to achieve, the progress you want to make, however you label it, let's talk about how the best way to go about doing that and our experience.
Yes, and I'm going to end our research because we did a little bit of reflection and research as well, but I am going to use a great example of New Year's resolutions because they are a goal and people increasingly hate setting them. There's about 20% that don't set them because most of the time they don't work. And so statistically, we go ahead and we set them in January. By February, 35% of us have dropped whatever that resolution is. So I think they last less than a month, goals. And that's everything from self-care, diet, work. I recall, people wanting to quit smoking and all that. It's like a great clean slate day. However, less than 10% of them manage to complete their New Year's resolutions. So there's like this bad rap around goal setting and New Year's resolutions because they kind of don't work. So we're going to talk about 3 things. Number 1, we have to align them to our why. We'll talk about that. The second is we need to break them down. And the third, the one that I have mixed feelings about, is accountability. Because I've got like a real autonomy bone. Like, I don't want to talk about accountability.
Kristen just did a personality test. And one of them is that she likes to be completely autonomous and independent.
Don't tell me what to do.
But as someone who failed my New Year's resolution of getting on more yachts, I am part of the 90%, which is always nice to be in the popular group. Do you set them? Have you set any recently?
New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, did you send some this year?
Well, this year, for those that were listening to earlier episodes of this podcast, you will know that I was like, I'm not going to set a New Year's resolution. So then I waited till when most people failed them. And I actually set one in...
Her other personality trait is competition.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And I ended up setting it in April. It's not going that well, so we're going to talk about that. But I think the first thing we need to chat about is how we can effectively set them is aligning them with our why. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, I think that's how I've ended up after the debacle with the yachts. I've now realized, and actually working in a finance platform, I started to realize that I operate better under a continuous improvement model than a goal setting model. So for me, it's always just taking the next step. And I think I realized this with investing, where I initially had this idea that one day I was going to hit this magical utopia where I could retire and live forever off my investments. And then realized that actually there's just multiple steps along the way. And when you hit one, you've got a little bit more freedom and control, and you get to the next one, you get into the next one. So now when I think about New Year's resolutions, I think, what's the ultimate goal of what I want to achieve in life, which is my why, and then what's a couple of things that I can tick off this year that's going to take me a couple of steps closer. So for me, your why is probably, for me, it's the meaning of life. Like I go right up to like, what is my purpose on this planet? Why am I here? And if I was to, you know, they do those things, I'm getting really theoretical here, but where the nurses who work in rest homes or in palliative care, and they say that no one ever dies thinking, I wish I worked more. Like, I totally get that, but I'm like, if I'm 120 and I'm lying on my deathbed, what would make me think I'd lead a great life? And so that's what kind of, to me, is your why.
That's a big long-term goal.
Yeah, but then you break it down.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, my actual why is to have a really happy, fulfilled life.
Feels like for lack of a better term, cliche term, is your North Star. And then what you're doing is each year just making sure that you're aligning yourself to the North Star. And one thing in the research that I learned was this concept of extrinsic versus intrinsic. And this is why I failed, by the way. My April New Year's resolution was to have a six-pack. That said, there's still 130 days left until...
She's counted.
New Year's Eve. I did count. And there's 130 days left. So not all is lost. But what I've done is my goal was to effectively get healthier. And the kind of manifestation of that is that my body looks better. And I just happened to think, oh, I want to have a six-pack. And I threw that out there. That would be an example of something that is really extrinsic. And what I mean by that is extrinsic is motivated by money, status, and image. So it's kind of these external factors that society tells us equates to success, equates to you're succeeding in life, because externally you're driving the right car, you look a certain way, you've got the right title, in the right family, so on and so forth. And so these are extrinsic goals, and they find that they're often not really sticky because deeply inside, they're not linked to your intrinsic kind of values, which is pursuing things that are really meaningful to us. And so when I think about externally why I wanted to look like that, it was actually more probably around, I just want to be healthier. I want to spend more time in the outdoors. So that's why, like, me waking up every morning to go and build a six-pack wasn't meaningful enough for me to kind of go and do that. But I really got great joy in being out in the bush with my dog or out in the ocean on a surfboard. And that is keeping me fit. And so it's like, I don't care enough about the six-pack. And yeah,
there's a lot of research behind that with fitness and with startups, that if you're getting into creating a company for the money, you'll most likely fail, because things get really hard and there's a lot easier ways to achieve that goal. So if you're not motivated by something more intrinsic about changing the world or achieving something that you think is super beneficial, you probably won't be as successful. And so it's sort of a bigger picture of your extrinsic motivation. And I've had it before when back in the day, when I was quite young, I had a design agency and I had a bunch of staff working for me and I had this goal of growing it to 20 people. And then I was going to semi-retire, and it didn't work. Like, I was working more than ever doing the jobs that I didn't like. But my goal, I never re-examined my goal. And it was only when I sat down one day and thought, why do I think I need to have 20 people working for me? And I realized it was because of an external idea of success, that having a company that had a certain amount of staff felt like it should be successful, but it was making me deeply unhappy. So I completely changed my path and went back to what makes me live a happy, fulfilled life. And that was doing the things that I loved to do and cutting the stress of the things that I didn't love to do, which was really revolutionary for me.
I think it's so crazy that we hang on to these external pressures of how we should look, work, live, and you get caught up in, we've heard the rat race and the whole more money, you're buying a bigger home, and it's just, it's never enough. And there's like this huge phenomenon of it's just never enough. And I think that's all come from external pressure, no doubt. Social media, I was telling my daughter the other day, the increase, so it's directly linked, the increase of hours you spend on social media is now directly proven to decrease your happiness in the same, to the same extent. And it probably all comes down to this external pressure of like how we should be looking and how we should be living and all these incredible things we should be doing in this weird fake world, where really it sounds like you walked away and thought very deeply about your why and why it mattered to you. And I think I've come around to the same thing.
Well, they say that with exercise, you're more likely to fail at exercise when it is about losing weight. I think losing weight's a big one, that it never works because, again, it gets hard and it's such a long-term thing that it takes a while to do. And so throughout, and there is research on this, I haven't got the stats, but you know, you just end up not being motivated enough. Whereas if you're driven by a desire to live a really healthy lifestyle, I've seen this with a lot of people who've transformed their lifestyle because they've had children and they're now driven by this intrinsic motivation to be there and to be able to hang out with their kids and play with their kids. And that is so meaningful to them that they will stick with an exercise regime that they wouldn't have if it was just to lose weight, because it just didn't matter that much when it got really hard.
I think what we're getting at here is it's worthwhile just sitting. I think intentions are always great. Like, we start with the kind of the right intentions. It has to do around well-being, it has to do around self-care, probably around fitness and health. Like, all these things are really important, and we're not saying it's the outcome that we shouldn't be striving for, but it's actually just sitting and reflecting in the why that's important. Because I think the self-care industry and the self-improvement industry is like billions of dollars and largely fueled by women. So we love improving ourselves and we love reading these things that are telling us like how to live and set boundaries and say no. And like, we do all that stuff and people love to, but it's almost like, that's great. You want to set a boundary or you want to learn a new skill. It's just sitting with that a little bit longer and really reflecting why. Like, will that make you happy ultimately, rather than just doing an arbitrary thing? Like, does it really align with the direction that your life's moving? What is it that you're protecting by putting that boundary in place? Or how are you going to use the skill? And does it fill you with joy to be able to do that thing?
Yeah, I feel like this is a classic Powrsuit conundrum, or what we now call a power tool, where we always jump to solutions mode and goals are often solutions. We're like, I want to lose weight, I want to get fit, I was thinking recently for me is move in with my girlfriend. There's the solutions. They're not the why. They're not the, what are we trying to solve? What's the problem we're trying to solve, or the opportunity we're trying to address? And I mean, saying moving in with my girlfriend, and I've been pondering this quite a lot recently because we're getting closer and closer, even though she actually lives here, to officially making it happen. And for me, the reason I want to move in is because we want to build a life together, and I want to have a true partner where we actually create this incredible partnership together, and we have this life that is bigger than the sum of the two wholes. I'm a huge believer that we're both full people on our own. And once I switched to thinking about it like that, of it's not about moving in and doing this, it's actually about how do we create a life together. One of the things is living together is going to make life cooler. Why? Okay, it's because we're going to share stuff and we're going to be there to support each other and we're going to have opportunities to hang out with each other's friends. And so you start to, for me, that really changed my thinking. Whereas initially it felt like, oh, we're doing this because it's a thing you should do.
Yeah.
And
it's the next step.
Fundamentally changed how we felt about
that's
it,
cool.
I think.
And chatted about it too. And I've just brought up a survey that we did on our Powrsuit LinkedIn. Come and join us. And I asked, are you working towards any professional goals at the moment? And 32% said yes, career advancement, and 30% said yes, work-life balance. So that's great because people are kind of going at a high level, I'm working towards these things. Let's talk about career advancement, why you might scratch a little bit deeper. I think it's worthwhile just sitting in, what does that look like? Career advancing? Is it the title I'm looking for, which would be extrinsic? Is it I want to be more challenged? Because there's a number of ways to do that. Of course, is it that I want a higher paid job? It's kind of really digging into some of those things, going one step deeper, and hopefully everyone who's answered the poll on LinkedIn is going, what exactly about it fills me with joy to get that career advancement? Is it a bigger scope of work? Is it more like, what is the thing that really will get us up each morning and excited?
Yeah, I really like that. And I think because we often used to talk in finance about the opposite, that most women who are not engaging with their money are doing it because they see it as this extrinsic thing of like, it's just about greed and spending more and having bigger, flasher toys. Whereas actually when you reverse that and go, my goal is to live, in my case, a happy, fulfilled life. Part of that means having freedom and control over my choices. What are all the tools I have? Career advancement is a way to get money to be able to fund some of the choices that I want to make, to be able to take time off when I want to, or to be able to buy ready-made meals so I don't have to cook, or like outsource some of the chores that I don't want to do, whatever it is. Really understanding what it's linking up to. And I think when you've just said that, and I hope what people are picking up from this is these aren't big complicated things. Like, we're not sitting down mapping out our entire lives. It's just having this sort of, I like the term North Star. I know you say it's cliche, but I feel like it's just having this really simple vision of what you want your ultimate life to look like, and then just taking those steps and making sure the goals you set are taking you closer to it.
Yeah, and there's two things that came to mind that we've done articles in the past and newsletters, and the first is purpose, which I think is really important because that might help define what your purpose is. And a big part of that was actually values, because your goals are probably going to be more sticky if they actually align with your values. For example, if work-life balance is really important, yet one of your primary goals is hard work and advancement in career, like they might not be aligned right now with work-life balance.
Or you might need to come up with a few sub goals to figure out how to achieve both.
Yeah,
those
exactly.
things.
So I think there's this underneath purpose is really like, what is it that you value? And then questioning, is what I'm working towards every day right now, even if it has been subconscious, we're actually trying to force you to bring it to the conscious right now and go, does that align with what you value in life? And
I so agree.
Yeah.
And we're allowed to change.
Yeah.
That's something that we've been talking about a lot recently, is we probably both know a bunch of people who were very high achievers all through school and university. And a lot of university courses take you down a path that you may not be able to change that easily. You might become a lawyer or a doctor or a vet, or one of these skills or jobs where you are now in it. A lot of professional consultants, like these are big grunty careers that you have been working towards for years and years and years. And we don't always stop every year or every now and again to go, is this still where I want to be? Like, is this leading me closer to my life that I want to lead? And it's okay that you may have wanted it 5 years ago and you may not want it anymore. That's actually, we're allowed to give ourselves permission to change what our ultimate lifestyle looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I think, should we move to breaking them down? Because the why, hopefully we've really clearly, everyone please just dig a little bit deeper. When you are like me and you're setting something about how I would like my body to look, maybe just break it down. Probably people are far more along the evolutionary path than me, but I'm just going to put that out there.
Well, I think that when we're talking about find your why, I like the idea of finding your why by asking why, and that's the 5 whys. To keep saying why. Like when you say, why do I want a six pack? Because it's going to make me look cuter. Why do I care about looking cuter? Because that might mean other people like me more. And you get to the end of that path and you go, oh, this doesn't feel that rational, or this doesn't feel like where I want it to be heading. Whereas like on the surface. So I really love the 5 whys to get to that ultimate of like, is this the right path or is there? And it's quite a simple exercise.
Love that. And then we take it to break them down. And this is something, once you've kind of actually got the right goal that's aligned to your values, that will get you closer to joy. That's really important. We talk a lot at Powrsuit about breaking things down. It's why we give a 30-second action. We like to make really big things, break it down into lots of small steps. And that is science-backed when we talk about science and behavioral science and adopting new habits. And the fitness industry uses it, professional development, all sorts of self-improvement things is actually just going, we need to often shortcut our neural pathways, which are primed to go in, one direction. And we have to build up new habits. And the only way to do that is when we break things down really small and then just start to implement them. Just take one step at a time. And so we, what's an example of something that has felt big to you, Nat, and you've broken down?
Well, I was actually thinking the finance one is a big one for me. And I suppose maybe 2 points on this. I want to get financial freedom. So for me, that means, if you know the FIRE movement, having enough money invested that you can draw down maybe 4% of it every year, then it will be sustainable forever. So you have to have a pot of money. You can figure out how much your costs are, blah, blah, blah. When I was earning a fixed salary, easy. I had a really easy goal of investing X amount of my salary every month. Boom, done. Because I knew it was going to take me to my ultimate vision of financial freedom. Then I stopped working. So my next goal when it came to that, which I think is a great example of how you can change over time, was to only reinvest any extra money that came to me and any dividends that I earned. So like I completely changed my goal. I took the pressure off of going, I'm going to have to still invest this much money every month, and just went, what is easy for me to do? And it's every time I get a dividend from my investments, I reinvest that. And anytime I get money from some of the other, like selling a company or anything like that, also invest that. Done. I can tick it off. It's like a really simple thing that I just set and forget and do. Whereas I think if I had tried to make it big and have a target of the amount of money to invest, I would have failed, because we are not in a situation at the moment that we're earning regular money. So I really tried to break it down to the smallest thing that I could do to continue towards my ultimate why.
Yeah, great. I love that it wasn't as prescribed, which gives you freedom for it to flex over time. And so it's not like you're failing, because that's the ultimate with the New Year's resolution. As we set these big things, our brain finds them really scary, and then all of the science in our bodies protects us from the scary thing, and then there's the feeling of failure, and it's this awful cycle. Whereas you've just gone moving in the same direction still. I'm just taking a couple small things. And I know quite often we really challenge, when we do a power session, we have these coaching sessions, and we really challenge people both in the power session and the coaching session. One small thing can mean a huge weight off your shoulders towards the goal you kind of know you should be doing, or should is the wrong word because we just told people that. But for example, someone that runs their own business, their goal would be to grow their business, which means they probably need to be doing some promotion of themselves and of their business, and that's quite a scary thing. So the smallest thing might be you update your LinkedIn profile, and so we will break that down. And I just recall one of our Powrsuitors just said, oh, even just doing that was a massive weight off my shoulder, and it was just that small step, and we love that.
The other one from me, and I'm going to throw it to you. I've got a bunch that I'm doing at the moment, but we're going over to this US trip, and the purpose of this US trip, on your point about growing a business, is I have 2 purposes. One is to break free of New Zealand mindset. For me, it's about thinking global, and the way to think global is to go see the world. And then the second thing is to grow our business, to make connections. That to me is, I feel very intimidated going over to these big US cities and meeting people who seem wildly successful and articulate and all of those things. And so I've broken it down to, I'm going to reach out to 2 people every day and say hi and ask if and organize a 30-minute video call and do that. And that actually probably sounds quite big for a lot of people, but we are quite used to reaching out to people. And so if I wasn't that comfortable, I might just pick one person once, make a connection, have a video call. That's it. Like, it doesn't need to be, it just needs to be as big as it feels manageable.
Yeah.
And no bigger. As soon as it feels like a stretch, you're kind of stuffed.
Yeah. But the magic of that is your goal can be massive as long as it aligns with something you genuinely want to do and you can visualize your really happy self there. It can be huge. And then the smaller you break it down, the better. And I'll use 2 examples. And again, I had to have a friend remind me because I don't feel like I wake up with goals. But I know, I was like, whatever. She wrote down about 10 things that I've done in my life that she thinks are incredible. But I'll just use 2 of them. And the first is moving to New Zealand from Canada. And the second is a photography business when my kids were like brand new born babies. And so with both of those things, I actually really enjoyed photography. And I was like, how do I combine this with staying home with my kids and making money out of it? And so I just took baby steps. I got a camera and then I started taking pictures of my children and people started complimenting me on them. And I said, oh, I'll just do for $20, I'll do a little session with you. And then it turned to 100 and 200 and whatever. So I built my skills by doing. I took out every book in the library at the time on it. I learned the tools I needed to in order to edit photos. And then I had to do business cards. And it feels huge if you go, I'm going to launch a photography business. Yeah. But every day, I'll just start by taking photos of my friends' children. Yeah. And then, I need to edit these. Okay. And I kind of worked my way through what that looked like. And I didn't overwhelm myself. It was just like every day I just did something a little bit different to get me closer. And the same thing with New Zealand. Most people don't wake up, I'm going to move countries. I see ourselves there. Let's go on an adventure with these 2 babies that we've got. But it doesn't feel big because you're just doing one small thing every day.
I really like that. And I think that sort of breaks a goal down into a to-do list where you go, and we've done this with Powrsuit and some of those things you're talking about with your photography businesses. We need business cards, we need t-shirts, we need a million things, and we just have a big to-do list. Yes. And then we go every week, what's the things we're going to pick off this week? And we're just going to get those things done. And we know all the rest of the stuff needs to happen, but we just leave it on the list. We don't have to carry that mental burden. And it's there. We'll come to it next, but we're just going to pick off a little bit and get it done.
And I think to carry that back to our ultimate why is, number one, we wanted the autonomy to run our own business and to benefit from the building of value of that, which is, again, why we're doing Powrsuit. And number 2, we're really purpose-led. We want women to build a career on their own terms. And so there's these 2 magic why ingredients that we wake up every day so that to-do list is just a to-do list. It's not like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So I think it's worked. I think we'll just close on the accountability thing.
Oh, yes.
I want to share that I hate accountability, by the way. And this, again, goes against my autonomy and people telling me what to do. So I am self-accountable, except for to the 6-pack, because that's extrinsic, so we've let it go. But I don't like being accountable. I've got this little rebellious thing. Even I had a personal trainer for a while, and it was like just someone telling me what to do. It just drives me crazy, but other people love it.
And I don't know, my perception of accountability might be slightly different to yours, because I don't think it's telling people what to do. I think you like accountability, but accountability comes in lots of different forms. And so for you, it might be, I'm accountable to myself and I've set this goal and I will reward myself when I do it.
Yes.
For other people, it might be, I know that I have to turn up to see my PT every week because they are waiting for me and it's their job. So if I turn up, that is me being accountable. For other people, it might be my friend will tell. So there's actually multiple ways to be accountable, and it's just what works for you. And in some cases, like for me, I used to have a personal trainer. It was great. I would turn up because I knew they were there. When I had a personal trainer or a friend who would try and push me to do stuff, hated it.
That's what I mean.
That's not accountability, though. That's telling you what to do, and neither of us likes that. Yeah. So for me, I think we all like accountability, but it's just what form it comes in.
Great. Okay.
And we all hate to be told what to do. So.
Right. Okay. I just picture someone over me going, "How are you tracking on that to-do list?" And I'm like, "This is my goal. Don't tell me what to do."
Well, they could say that, but they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Like they're just asking the question, and you're motivated by knowing that they're going to ask you the question, or you're not, you're motivated by something else.
Totally makes sense. All right. So we love accountability, and that is the science also of actually being successful with goals, is once you've really figured out what's important and you've broken them down. We do have peer groups as part of Power Sessions. They meet weekly and they hold one another to account, I suppose, but in a supportive way. So
it's like, great. I'm going to turn up to this peer group and I don't want to be the one who didn't do my action this week, or I'm going to turn up and know that they're going to ask, and if I'll feel bad, not like whatever the thing is, it's actually about you, not them. So like it's a mind, like you're talking a lot about the science, it's a mind trick to make you more motivated.
Love that.
So however you make it work. If it's something that doesn't work for you, don't do that. It's not good.
I love it. If anyone wants to share what their current goals are, their genuine why, we want to hear it. So reach out to us at hello@powrsuit.com. While you're on our website, make sure that you sign up to our newsletter.
One thing that's bringing me a lot of joy at the moment, which is a goal of ours, was to grow Powrsuit organically through our community sharing with their communities. Yeah. And we've noticed all along with our newsletter and podcast that every week we get a bump in signups because people are sharing it. But with our Power Sessions now, it's just this really delightful thing where you start to see people go, I want to pay this forward. Like, I found this thing that's working for me and I want to pay it forward to other people. So that would be the final ask, is please keep doing that, because we are a small business. We have massive ambitions, and you have no idea the impact that you're having when you share us, because that's from a business perspective, that's a very expensive thing for us to do. So you opening your networks is extremely valuable, and we really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Powrsuiters. We look forward to chatting again next time. Take care.
Bye.